G'day folks, Rod here from Learn to Paint Academy and Learn to Paint TV. Welcome to this week's episode. Now, this week we're going to do a great little scene of a beach called Broken Head Beach, which is just south of Byron Bay. So we're going to do this photo of Broken Head. However, I'm not going to really reference the photo too much. All I'm going to do is use it as a launch pad, if you like, a springboard. Okay, step one of the Moore method of painting, of course, is to get a drawing of what we're going to do here. So I am going to just take a little touch of thinner, and a little bit of that ultramarine blue there. Some of this alizarin crimson would just make up a little dark mix, okay? And I'll use plenty of thinner in this. I want this to be thin paint for the purpose of our drawing. Now, looking at the photo, the first thing we really need to do is just establish that water line where you've got those two distant rocks at the back there. And we don't want that to be too high, so I'm going to put that down around about a quarter, somewhere around about there, right? And we've got these two rocks that sort of sit in here somewhere, okay? We'll fix that up in a moment. And then we've got, coming forward to the headland, we've got a shelf of rocks, gets a little bit bigger, and then it kicks up there and across, okay? And then it goes up on this steep sort of trajectory. Now it actually goes out of the painting here, but my format's a little bit different. So the way the photo's taken, the format's around about there. Okay, so don't be fooled by that. So just run your headland up to that sort of area there. And we've got rocks in here, we've got rocky shelves in there, and then we've got water coming that way. Now I've gone and placed that. This is really the center of interest here. There's going to be some highlighted rock right here, but I've gone and placed that right at the halfway mark, and I don't want that, so I'm going to wipe that off and we'll just move that all over. Okay, so this is why it's really important to, in the drawing step, to just make sure you get your drawing in the right place at the right time. So what I should have done is started with that there. Okay, and then run that up so it runs up that way. Okay, maybe it doesn't need to be quite that high. So this is why it's important that we use this paint fairly thinly at this stage, so that we can make these sort of adjustments. Now, if I just be careful, if I paint that rocky ledge there too far over, then there's not going to be any room for the water to come around. We want the eye to be able to work around that. So just be mindful of that. And I'm going to exaggerate this sort of orangey rock in through here. Okay, and then that's going to just jut out a little bit there like that. Okay, and so we do have these other rocks in the background, but I might just downplay those. That's the sort of broken off rocks, I guess, that give it its name. We'll just downplay those a little. Okay, well that's step one, folks, of the Moore method of painting. And I think the important thing for you to take away from this is that when you look at a photo reference, or if you're standing there plein air, don't be overwhelmed by the scene. Okay, so a lot of beginners look at there's so much information there that they can become overwhelmed as to what to focus on, what to leave out, and so on. The thing I've found really helpful in having taught 25,000 or more students now is to identify a few big shapes and get those big shapes mapped out correctly onto your working surface, okay? Okay, for our blocking step, I'm going to use our big brush. Don't muck around with a small brush, there's no need to. So grab a big brush, and I'm going to focus in on this rocky, or this whole headland here. And we're going to use a nice chunky dark. So we'll get our ultramarine blue here. Okay, which is our darker blue, darker and warmer blue. And good helping of that red there. Okay. Now we want this to be just on the warm side, because that'll help us get those nice rich colours into the rocks here. And it's also catching a lot of sun at the time I took this photo. Okay. So don't be afraid of really warming that up. Now it's a little bit actually bluer than what I'd like, so that's fine. I'll just come back in with some more alizarin crimson there. Okay, we'll just work that in. Okay. So what we're doing here is just blocking in the dark tone. And this is important to do because we'll then put our midtones and our highlights over the top of that. Okay. And this process is not familiar to a lot of beginners that I have taught. They don't think to do it this way. But this is the classic traditional sort of oil painting method, is to start with your darks and work forward to your lights. One little thing is, because we are going to put highlights on here, I'm just going to come in here and just wipe out a few key little areas where those highlights are going to go. So we're going to have dark there, and then we're going to come in here with an orangey sort of highlighting through there along these rocks. Okay. So we've got a dark there, but we're just pulling out some of that paint so that we can more easily get in there with our highlight tone. So the next dark is really these little rocks out the back, and what we want to do with those, we don't want them to be the same value. So I'm going to pop some white in there, and I'm going to go a little bit bluer. Okay, and I'm going to add a little touch of the the yellow ochre in there to get a dark that is cooler, bluer, so bluer, which will make it cooler, and grayer and lighter in tone. Okay. There we go, that's looking like it there. So it's the same paint, it's ultramarine blue, it's the permanent alizarin crimson, little touch of yellow ochre to grey it, and a bit of white in there to lighten the value. Okay, so let's just get that in. You can see that's a very different tone there, and that's important. And connect those two up. There's two sort of separate rocks there coming out of the picture, but just connect them up. So our next step really is, we've got a whole lot of sky, we've got water, and we've got sand there. So we want to block those in. So what I'll do is, because I've got this brush has got a dark on it, I'll pop that to one side, and I'll now take our lighter tone. Now there's not much happening in that sky. A little bit of cloud action and so on, but nothing really to worry about too much. So I'll take all of that white, we'll have to get some more white in a moment, a little touch of the blue, and then on the other side we'll take a little touch of the alizarin, a little touch of the yellow, a little touch more of the yellow ochre. Okay, let's just mix those together. And what I want to get is a warm grey. Now that's just too strong in value. Okay, we need to lighten that off more. So this is a light area that we're painting here now. It's important that you understand the distinction between them. Just get some more paint. Chunk of that white there, mix it on the edge, and that will help us to start lightening up that tone. A little bit of thinner. I want to paint, I don't want to do the sky one time. I don't want to have to come back and work over the sky. So therefore, my paint's quite a bit thinner. Quite a bit thicker, because I want to have this as kind of a finished tone here, right? So it's a little bit warm on the pinky side, and we're just going to work around these shapes here. But it's definitely lighter in value. Okay, this is important. There's a few little clouds and things in the sky that we could paint in, or just add in a few touches to represent some clouds. But for the moment, it's sort of this warmish grey tone along the horizon, which you often find, especially in seascape paintings. You often find this rising warmth off the horizon. So I'll just block that all in. I'll take another chunk of this white, pop it here, because we need to get roughly the same value, just slightly darker with a bit of this blue. Okay, because we're only looking sort of closer to the horizon here. The sky is not going to be that blue, and it was a little bit overcast anyway that day. See that? They're fairly close in value, aren't they? When you have a look at that. So if I come up here and pop that in through here. So I've still got a little bit of that grey in the brush. I didn't clean it completely. And so some of that's going to come out, which is good because that'll then unify everything. It'll tie everything together. So again, I'll just pull a little bit of that paint out of the brush there. Get it sort of clean. It's not clean, but it's sort of clean. And then I'm just going to come in and just pull the two areas together. Okay. And I can take some of that blue, just work that into the orange, or the grey rather. It's got an orangey feel to it. So now what I'll do is I'll add in the water and some sand just to complete our step 2, our block in. So for that water, you can see there that there's not a lot of space there for that water. So we don't want to use a big brush. I'll come down to a medium brush so I can get this water in here, around this rock and up to the sand line there. And then we can pop in some sand and we'll be on our way. So with this water, I'll take just a little touch of the white there, get whatever ultramarine blue we can pick up from there. Okay. Now I'll add in a little touch of yellow ochre. Okay. It's not a bad tone, but I'll brighten it up a little bit with a bit of cadmium yellow in there as well. Cadmium yellow will just boost it up a little bit, make it a bit brighter. Because the water in there is mostly sort of an aqua green. And then it's going to get a little bit yellower closer to the sand. Okay. Probably could be a little touch bluer in there. A little touch of the white there, as you can see. So I won't paint completely over that green. I'll just add a little bit of that blue in there. Now let me just check those rocks. Oh yeah, they are pretty big. Just blur that horizon line a little there. Okay. A bit more of that blue and white. Now we need to change the angle of that water just slightly, just to line it up with the angle of the beach there. And I'll put a little bit more yellow ochre in there just to get it slightly shift in tone. Now see how I'm now painting it on this angle? The direction of the brush helps to define shapes, so just be mindful of that. A little touch more white in there. Tone I was looking for. So there is some wet sand running along the waters line there. So this is where the waters come up, and it's left the sand wet. It goes a slightly darker tone, a little bit warmer. This light tone brush, take a big chunk of this white, pop that there, and that is going to have just a touch of the cadmium yellow. It needs to be warm, although that's a bit on the green side. I'll just take that out. Okay, let's find some actual cadmium yellow in that pile. That's the problem with letting your pile of paint get muddy. Okay, so a bit of cadmium yellow and a little bit of the alizarin, not too much, just the tiniest little bit. Still a bit green, that yellow. Should have probably put out some fresh stuff, but not to worry. Okay, so we want this to be very light in value, as you can see, because that'll again create the feeling of warmth. I'll keep this fairly pure, this paint, so be careful of clipping that dark. Okay, so starting point for that is going to be our what's our focus, and our focus is I want to put in some nice rocky earthy tone in here where the sun's catching, a little bit in here, and then more orangey tone over here. Okay, so we've already got a bit of a basis of that happening with that wet sand tone, but I might just brighten it up with some more cadmium yellow. Let's just see what that looks like. And it probably wants a little bit of extra red in there. Okay, so get a bit of the alizarin tone there. Touch more white. A little bit more of the red. Okay, so I'll give my knife a clean, and then I can come in and I can just cut a chunk of it like that, okay? Rather than have the knife all clogged up with paint. And let's just pop some of this on. Okay, leave a little bit of that dark to shine through. There's a bit of grass on top of that as well. And I'll just take a little of that touch of that grey and I'll just grey back a little bit of it. And let's just get that in here. Okay, so we're starting to establish our highlights now against our darks, and then we'll get in this orangey tone over here. So we'll add in more red, it's a reddy orange tone. Okay. Kind of like this one here. So you can see where, even though I wiped back that dark, it's still got the stain there. So we will need to get some green foliage. I've already got some green on the canvas, on the palette. I'll just grab some of that and we'll have a look, a little touch of red in there. Okay. So I'll just run that in here and there. Gotta be careful not to do the same stroke everywhere. And we can push that green around I mean is not be a bully to it, but to shift up the tone and vary it. Okay, so we get some more shadowy. Don't want it all to be in highlight, so this is our highlight area here. So you want to have some muted, darker greens in there as well. You know, quick little demonstration on how to put together a really, what is fairly dramatic sort of seascape painting, but how easy is it to do when you just follow a few simple steps, right? And that's what we're all about at the Learn to Paint Academy, is showing you how to create really good looking paintings in the easiest possible way. But then I can mix up a punchier green or up along these upper areas here where it's going to be catching that sunlight. Let's just take this distant shadow tone. We'll add a little bit of red and yellow to it. Okay. Just to warm it up. And then we need some light in there, so I'll get some white. We don't want too much of a value shift here. Very subtle because it's in the distance, right? The contrast in values can't be the same as what we've got with our main headland. Okay, so just a little touch of detail work there is all that needs. Let's get a little bit of water happening. So that our water will take our titanium white, a little touch of this little sand colour just to warm it up. But you know, it needs to be on the white side there. Take a swipe of that. Now where have we got the water? Let's just have a look back at the photo. Okay, oh, there's a little bit of water action there. We won't put too much of that in because we don't have as much space. Okay, so I'll just give you a close-up view here. You can see I've got the paint on there, so I'm just going to pop it around these rocks here, and then we'll just put in a little bit of water action there. And do we want to put one or two little people in there? That's a good question. Let's have a look on the photo. There are some people there. I don't want to paint those people in though. Nothing against those people, but let's just see where. I'm just going to put little silhouettes of people in here. Not here to paint people, but just to give the beach a little bit of something. The little kid there. Probably need to have some shadow for them, so mix up a darker version of that sand colour. So now it's just, I'm just picking out little things, but I'm almost at that point where I'm going to say, well, for demonstration purposes, we've achieved our main objective here. And you've seen the working process and how to use the Moore method of painting. So rather than me continue, I think most important thing is for you to have a go. That's how you really learn, is by actually picking up your brushes and getting in there and having a go at doing some of these projects. And of course, if you're a member of the Learn to Paint Academy, then you get access to the full version of this painting. So consider joining us. It's only $1 initially to join for a trial, and then you can choose if you want to stay on as a member. It gives you access to more than 20 different painting courses, and now there's more than 100 projects that you can try. So there we go, folks. I'm going to leave that one there. Pretty happy with that as a little demo. Pretty quick, simple demo to do. Anyone can do this, right? All you have to do is just follow the steps. The palette knife work, a little bit in that, maybe just practice on a scrap canvas or a bit of paper, just so you get a feel for how to use the palette knife. But follow the same working methodology that I've shown you, and you too can paint a nice little painting here. This is Broken Head Beach, just south of Byron Bay, and a fantastic little painting. So have a go at this one. I think you'll enjoy it. And I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of Learn to Paint TV. I've certainly enjoyed this one. Really loved going there, and I collected a whole lot of photos and be doing many more paintings of that scene, I think, in the future. Make sure you check out every episode of Learn to Paint TV. I'll put the web address underneath me here, and also visit the Learn to Paint Academy, where you can register for a free course. And I go into the Moore method of painting in a lot more detail. More than 25,000 people have been through the free course, so come and join us. And you'll find a button there that says free course at the Learn to Paint Academy. So go and check it out. Web address underneath me. See you next week. Learn to Paint TV. Happy painting till then. Cheers.